Hey, gang. Okay, so do you know if trauma is impacting you today? Is it dictating how you live your life today? Does it still make a difference on how you think and how you feel today? Today, in this video, I'll walk you through a whole list of things that's really just a small sliver of the ways that you can tell if trauma is impacting your day today and if you are, in fact, a survivor of abuse. And I know that you don't want to continue to just be a survivor of abuse. So drop me a line below. I will send you my book, Rebel Rising. And it has the #1 most effective healing tool that I use with all my clients to heal past trauma. And of course, it has my story in there if you want to dive deeper into that. And all the stuff that you find on my videos, you know what, comes from my book. So there you go. There you have it. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Contessa Akin. I'm the best emotional well-being coach that there is. I've coached close to 1,000 women over the last 15 years to heal their trauma, to take care of their nervous system, come out of fight or flight, empower them to stand up against the odds being their past. And in every video you get from me, you'll get an actionable item to take back what was taken from you, and that is peace, safety, and trust. All right, in this video, let's walk through some of the ways that you can figure out if trauma is impacting your day to day. Let's dive in. I've got a list on my computer so I don't forget anything. And yeah, so here we go. Let's first define trauma. Okay. Some people are like, I didn't really go through trauma, right? And then we start talking, and then they're like, maybe that was a little bit of trauma, right? So, trauma, by definition, is just an event that overwhelms your system. It overwhelms your ability to cope in the moment. And there's two different kinds of trauma. There's direct trauma, which it happened directly to you, and there's indirect trauma. You heard about it, right? So, for example, being left on the side of the road at 3, that is the trauma that happened to me. Okay. And indirect trauma, I'm a mom, and when the Sandy Hook shootings were happening, that was an indirect trauma for me. And so you can have a trauma that happens directly to you, or you can have a trauma that happens indirectly to you. And let's make something very clear. Trauma is trauma. Trauma impacts the physical body, the emotional body in the same way, whether it's direct, whether it's indirect, whether you think it's a big trauma, whether you think it's just a little trauma, or whether you haven't even identified it as trauma at all. True story. And let's just make something else clear while we're at it. Look, I feel like I'm getting on the soapbox now. When I say trauma, by definition, is just an event that overwhelms your system, it doesn't mean that you are weak or somehow broken or ineffective. It is literally an event that physiologically, your body, biologically, that's the word I'm really looking for, biology, right? Your body is just not meant to withstand that kind of load. And think about, like, in the wild, right? When a zebra is being chased by I was gonna say a lion, but then I was imagining the cat. What is the cat? It's probably a lion. Anyways, look, this is where my brain's at today, guys. When the zebra is being chased by a predator, let's go with that, right? They're experiencing trauma, and their biology kicks into gear. They go into flight mode and they take off. And then when the threat ceases to exist, say the lion gives up and moves on along, he didn't catch up to him, then the zebra's nervous system and its biology just kind of calms back down into a relaxed state, as relaxed as it can be for a zebra for for what we're talking about here. The same thing happens with you, right? Whether again it's direct or indirect, when you experience a trauma, your body, your biology takes over and kicks up into gear and does what it does to send you into fight, flight, freeze mode. And then when the threat is over, the problem that happens is we tend to stay in this heightened sense, or we have events that keep us up in this heightened sense of fight, flight, or freeze. And then you remain in a trauma response. And in some cases, when I'm talking to my clients, they've remained in a trauma response for 30, 40, 50 years, you guys. So if you want to know if trauma is impacting you, first step, did you experience trauma in your life, anywhere in your life? Okay. A trauma is just an overwhelming life event. So a divorce, were you in childhood? Did your parents get divorced? Did anything happen to you? Did anything happen to a loved one? I've coached clients who, have been sexually abused, just like myself. I've coach clients who were in the sexual, forced into slave labor, sexual slave labor. I've coached clients who had loved ones killed, murdered, or just pass away. Those are all traumas. And did you have a boyfriend when you were younger in your teen years and you broke up and you just never seem to have gotten over it? That can be a trauma, right? Trauma, again, is just an overwhelming life event. And if it triggers a reaction in you, then most likely you're going to be talking about trauma. Okay, so I'm looking at my list here. Let's go through it. So, oh my gosh, I wish I had my book. Here's my book. There it is. Look. Guys, this is a big, giant book of the emotional ways that your messages that your body is trying to send to you in a physical way. This is like literally 1,000 pages of information of ways that your body reveals trauma, because you have a physical pain in your body, and it usually relates to an emotional event. And yeah, there's a book. So there's that. So I'm just going to go through a few here. So the point being, the physical pain in your body that you feel is real, it's genuine, and most likely has a message and comes from an event, and you can heal that event, right? All right. So here's some things that, if trauma is affecting your physical body and you're not paying attention, this is your physical body's way of trying to get your attention so that you can heal the emotional response to trauma. Hope that came out right. All right. Tension headaches, migraine headaches, back pain, neck pain, knee pain, lockjaw. I can't say that word, the big long word, but it's basically the lockjaw syndrome. Pelvic pain. I get a lot of pelvic pain associated with uterus, bladder, all that stuff, right? That can all be associated with trauma. It is for me. Chronic tendinitis, vulvodynia. If you don't know what that is, you don't have it. You don't have to worry about it. But if you do have it, you know. All right. Foot pain. I think I said that. Insomnia. Goodness gracious. Last night, guys, I couldn't sleep hardly at all. Chronic fatigue syndrome. Tinnitus. Dizziness. Burning chest pain. This can kind of resemble the feeling of like acid reflux, that just burning in your chest. Difficulty breathing, chronic cough, chronic hives, hypersensitivity. Look, my husband loves this about me because I have a hypersensitivity to sound. But if you have a hypersensitivity to your senses, that touch, sound, smells, tastes, medications, any of that kind of stuff, generally speaking, there's some trauma in your background. Irritable bowel syndrome, interstitial cystitis, that's in your bladder, right? Basically your irritable bladder syndrome. Tachycardia syndrome, reflex sympathetic dystrophy, complex regional pain syndrome. So basically you feel pain in a lot of places, right? If you have anxiety, right? And we're talking about a generalized anxiety. If you are seeing a therapist or a psychologist for any of the things that I'm about to say, again, yes, most likely they are a result of a trauma, but don't think that you need to just stop seeing them just because I told you. But anxiety, depression, OCD, hyperactivity, ADD, ADHD, eating disorders, substance abuse disorders. Most people who attend Anonymous have some trauma in their history. So when you think about, that's kind of where I'm going to stop on my list. Again, I could go on and on and on and on of all the different ways that trauma shows up in your physical body. But here's the deal. If you are experiencing, if you experience day to day this negative talk in your brain, right? That usually comes from a trauma response. Like that's a coping mechanism. If you people please, that's a coping mechanism. It usually comes from a traumatic event. Whether, again, trauma just being an overwhelming life event, and it doesn't have to be direct to you, it can be indirect or it can be direct. And it's just that you had an event that happened in your life and you have a way to cope today. But what's happening is that that coping skill is not necessarily effective in getting you what you want or leading you to a happy, fulfilled, whole kind of feeling of life experience, if you will. And if that's the case, you have coping mechanisms, self-sabotaging, things like that, then you have some trauma in your background. That's how you know you're a survivor. All right, so drop me a line below and I will send you my book, Rebel Rising. It has the #1 most effective tool I use with all my clients to heal trauma, and it has my story in there and all that fun stuff so you can begin the process and your journey today, right here, right now. Until next time.